Good morning, Cape Town. It's 14 minutes to 9 o'clock. Karen says in a WhatsApp, please discuss the pathetic response of the South African cricket team yesterday. Just because they'd won the series doesn't mean they can act like children and not make any effort. South Africa now has a world record for losing. I can't discuss it because I didn't watch it. I didn't see even a ball of it. I read this morning that South Africa had lost by a record one-day amount, 72 all out. And the degree to which they were uninvolved in the game, I have no view on, so it's not something that I can discuss. I did watch the rugby, though, the loss to New Zealand at Eden Park, and I'm not as depressed about it as a lot of the response that I have seen, both from official rugby critics and people like me, just fans. Because, you can't deny the realities, the poor start. You can't deny the lack of composure. You can't deny the fact that our line-out didn't function well. You can't deny the fact that we were absolutely bossed and bullied at the breakdown, and that Grant Williams' normally snappy service and good box kicking was rendered ineffective by the use of the counter-ruck very, very effectively by New Zealand. All of these things are realities. But I said to myself, after that poor start, 14-0 down after 17 minutes, the next 23 minutes, we won 3-0. The first 20 minutes of the second half, the New Zealanders won 3-0, and then we won. So for 63 minutes of that game, we scored more points than the All Blacks. And we know kind of what was wrong. So if you win 63 minutes of the game after a poor start, and you know where your faults were, surely, David Skippers, rugby writer at Planet Rugby, it's easy to fix before Wellington on Saturday.
Hi, John. I hope it was so easy. It's not as simple as that. But I do think they have the potential to bounce back this weekend when we play them in Wellington.
Yeah, because how much was Eden Park, how much has to do with the sort of lack of fluency in the Springbok game since the one against the Barbars here in Cape Town? They haven't achieved, other than the first 20 minutes of the Ellis Park test against Australia, when they played the best I think any Springbok fan has seen a Springbok team play in the last 30 years. But other than that, they've struggled for fluency, they've struggled for cohesion, there have been a lot of changes, Rassie experimenting and so on. Yeah. And you get the feeling they one click away from snapping back into gear and doing what they are capable of doing.
Yes, I have to agree with you on that. The main thing I think is the issue right now with South African rugby, especially the top players, the guys in the Springboks team. A lot of these guys are playing in the URC, locally based players, and that's a Northern Hemisphere competition. The bulk of the Springbok squad is based on players that are based in South Africa. So currently they're playing for 12 months of the year. They don't have like a break, most of these top players. And I think that's taking the effects it's been shown this season. Because like you said, they played well against the Barbarians, but the games against Italy and Georgia, you could see they weren't like the usual self, if you know what I mean. They weren't like clinical in the execution. And I think playing for 12 months of the year, those effects are showing now, you know. Because there are some players that's based in, like in Japan, but the bulk of the players are South African-based players, you know. And they're playing for 12 months of the year.
There are resting protocols, and I know from regular conversations with John Dobson that those resting protocols are very frustrating for the URC coaches, who for critical periods of the URC season have, well, it's less of a problem now for the Stormers because they have fewer players in the Springbok squad, but the Sharks and the Bulls, for critical games. All of a sudden you have to box clever and, dance around the rules and so on. But do you think one of the things that needs to happen is that those resting protocols need to be increased for players to be given more off time, those in the extended Springbok squad during the URC season?
I do think so. Although, it's tough, because these unions, they want the best team. They want to send out the best players week in and week out. So it's actually a catch-22 situation. I really don't know how they're going to fix it. It's up to SA Rugby to introduce, like I say, maybe extended periods, but it's difficult because for a guy like at the shop, John Plumtree or the Bulls, or you want to come on, these guys, they are also, they've got to produce week in and week out, and they want to get the best out of their players or their teams. So it's really difficult to come up with a solution,
We were told that in this hour, Rassie would release the match squad for the game against Wellington the game in Wellington on Saturday. I haven't seen anything. I don't know if you have. Okay, it's just coming through to me now. Okay, let me just go through it.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is Abalele Fassi back at 15. Cheslin Colby and Ethan Hooker on the wings. And wow, a total change in the centre where he's putting Kanan Moody and Damien Willemse. Sasha Feinberg and Ngomazulu starting at fly half. Kobus Reinach is the starting number 9. He's got Jasper Visser back, so I think his first choice loose trio is there. Visser at 8, Peter Steff at 7, Sia at 6, Ruan Nordkeer and Loet de Jager, the starting locks. The starting front row is the same as the Eden Park game. Thomas du Toit, Malcolm Marx, Oxenshire. Malcolm Marx doing a lot of line-out practice, I would imagine, during the week. And then the replacements, Manus van der Merwe, Jan-Hendrik Wessels, Wilco Lowe, R.G. Snyman, Quagga Smith, Grant Williams. So he's going 5-3 again. Grant Williams, Mani Lebok, and Andre Estes. And so no Andre Pollard at all. So what do you think of that? Is that the right response when it comes to personnel for the Wellington test?
Yeah, look, I'm also looking at the team now because I also got that note that you're referring to. I expected him to make a lot of changes. Obviously, honestly, I think Villa was played his last game for the Springboks. That's my honest opinion after what happened on Saturday. The rest of the backline, it looks exciting with Sasha at 10, Damien Willems at 12, and Kanan Moody at 13. I expected Jasper Visser to come back because he was suspended and they did miss him at number 8, although he's also prone to conceding a lot of penalties. And yeah, like you said, it's good to have the first choice loose trio starting with Sia and Peter Steff, because that was an area where the All Blacks really dominated on Saturday, past game. The rest of the team, I'm surprised with Malcolm Marx starting. I must admit that, because
the line-out got better when Jan Hendrik came on and started throwing into Loet de Jager. All of a sudden, there was stability in the line-out.
Yes, and in the past, I don't remember when we were beating everybody, winning back-to-back World Cups. They started with Bongi and Bonambi at Hooker, and Malcolm Marx made a big impact off the bench, coming on and changing the rest of Africa. I think he's better as an impact player, and although a guy like Jan-Hendrik Wessels is really impressed me, but I see he was a backup hooker on Saturday, and he's going to be the backup prop this weekend because Manus van der Merwe is a backup hooker. So that will be interesting to see how Jan-Hendrik goes as a prop in the next game. I'm also happy to see R.G. Snyman back. And I'm disappointed that Walker Lowe is not starting again because he's really probably the best scrummaging tight head prop in the world at the moment. And we saw when he came on
that first scrum with him on the field, they went backwards, man.
Yes. So I'm surprised they didn't start with a guy like that because it gives you good go forward and momentum, from the start. But overall, I expected these changes, a lot of changes after we lost because it was, it's like you said, it's like they're not clicking at the moment, but it's almost as if, you're just expecting them to eat their straps at some time. And I think there's going to be a backlash this weekend against the All Blacks in Wellington.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. David Skippers, rugby writer at Planet Rugby. Thank you very much indeed.